Hello, welcome to Pythonically. In this video, we are going to study data types in Python. Data types in any programming language are basically the type of data that you can work with in your program. So in Python, there are 6 main types of data types. There are strings, numbers, booleans, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. So in this video, we will briefly review all of these data types in Python. But before that, you need to understand the concept of a variable. A variable in any programming language is used to store or hold data. For instance, when you create a variable like name is equal to ABC, what this line of code does is it creates a memory to store this variable name, and in that memory location it stores this value. So the memory location, which can be any number, basically computer stores data in hexadecimal notation. So the memory address could be 123, and since it is difficult for humans to directly remember the memory address, because we cannot remember the name of all the memory addresses in our application, what we do is that memory address has a name. So, and that name is basically called a variable. So using variable, basically we refer to memory address which stores the data. So this ABC will be stored in some memory address, and we can access this data using this variable name. The most important thing about Python is not a strongly typed language. By strongly typed language, I mean if you have worked with C# or C++, you have to define the type of data that the variable is going to store with the variable name. So if you are creating a name variable that will store string type data, in C#, what you do is, or Java, you create a variable like this: string name is equal to then ABC or whatever the name. In Python, you do not define the type of variable while creating a variable. Python decides at runtime by seeing the data that what type of variable is this. So in Python, you simply, what you do is name is equal to ABC, and simply if you press shift and enter, this will be executed. So what this does is, Python at runtime it checks, okay, name variables is having this type of data, that means name is a string type variable. So this is basically the concept of variable in Python. They are not strongly typed, rather they are loosely typed. Let's now see different types of data in Python that we can use or we can work with. So basically there are 6 main types of data: strings, numbers, booleans, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. Strings, as the name suggests, they are nothing more than sequence of characters. So if you have to store a name of a person, or if you want to store the gender of the person, the address of a person, things like that, which contains characters, English characters, or whatever language you are using, you can use string data type. So let's create a simple variable address, and this contains string data: house, number, ABCD, PO box, XYZ, and the county is state is California, and USA. So here we are creating a string type variable address, and if you press shift and enter, it will create the variable like this. So if you press the press button, this code is being executed in Jupyter, and to create a new cell, you can simply click the plus button and it will create a new cell for you. So if you want to check the data type of a variable, what you can do in Python is you can simply use the type function and pass it the variable, and this shows that this is a string type variable. So this is how strings are created in Python. There are many strings functions. When we will study strings in detail, then I will show you what you can do with strings. For instance, if you want to find the length of the string, you can simply do something like this: len, and then pass the variable that contains the string, and it will show you that it contains 31 characters. So basically this is how the strings work in Python, or the string type of data is stored. Next we have numbers. Numbers, as the name suggests, numbers are basically used to store numbers like age, or the height, weight, things like this. Any numerical data is stored in numbers. So you can create a variable age is equal to 19, and then let's check the type of this variable age. So it is an integer. So you can also store very long integers. They are called long. So for instance, if you want to store a variable, let's create a variable bank balance and give it some very long value. Let's check the type of this bank balance. I think it should be integer, or yeah, it is int anyways. So you have this type of data here. You can also store floating point integers, like the data with decimal values. For instance, weight is equal to 159.666. So here you can store the data with points or decimals. And if you check the type of this variable, it is floating type variable. And finally, the third type of numeric data that you can store in Python is the complex data. You can also have complex data in Python. For instance, there's a number like ABC and it is 789 plus 8J, and if you find the type of this variable, it's a complex variable. So we saw strings, we saw numbers. In numbers we have simple integers, we have floating point integers, floating point values, and we have complex numbers. Next, if you want to store boolean values, which can only have two possible values, you can use the boolean data type in Python. So for instance, if you want to specify if a person is married or not, you can simply create a variable like this. Married is equal to true, that means he's married, or children, have children, is equal to false. So this is how you create a boolean variable. Can only have two values, true and false. So this is how you create boolean variables in Python, and you can check the type of these variables. For instance, married, and you have the bool in the output. So this is how boolean type data is created in Python. Finally, if you want to store collection of items, you can use lists. We will see list in detail in some other lecture. Here I just briefly review the list. So to create a list, you can simply write give any name to the list. For instance, my list, and inside the list, to create a list, you have to specify the values in square brackets. So 10, 50, 96, 23. So this is a list of 4 integers. You can check the type, my list, and the type is list. List is a very complicated, is not a complicated topic, but it is a very detailed topic, and we will see lists in detail in some other lecture where I will only focus on list and its functions. Next we have tuples. Tuples are similar to list. They are used to store collection of items, but unlike lists, tuples cannot be updated. You can update a list, but you cannot update a tuple. So to create a tuple, you can simply write my tuple is equal to, and to create a tuple you have to use round brackets, 20, 30, and this is how you create a tuple. Let me briefly explain the difference. In list, my list dot remove 10, it will remove the 10 from the list. You can check by printing the list, my underscore list. You can see the 10 has been removed. So you can update a list, but you cannot update a tuple. A tuple is constant and cannot be updated. So my tuple dot remove 10, you cannot do this. You'll have an error. It says tuple has no object, no attribute remove. So this is a list and this is a tuple. Finally, we have dictionary. Our dictionary stores elements in the form of key and value pairs. For instance, let's create a dictionary of cars, you can say, and we have a key and a value. To create a dictionary, you have to pass or specify the items inside curly brackets like this, and each item is passed in the form of pair. So you have a key followed by the value, which is Honda. You can pass any value. I am passing the car names, and then to separate two items you use comma. Then 2 Toyota, then 3 is Ford. So here we create a dictionary with 3 items. This is one item. You can see one item contains 2 things, a key and a value. And key and values are separated by a colon. And 2 items are separated by a comma. This is very important thing to note. In the beginning I used to forget it. So to separate key and key and value, use colon. Separate 2 items, use a comma. So this is how we create a dictionary in Python. The key can be of any type. It can be a string or a boolean value, anything, and the value can also be of any type. Similarly, a list can have data of any type, strings, boolean, whatever. And finally, tuple, same for tuple, it can have data of multiple types. So these are the data types in Python. The most important data types. I just briefly reviewed them in this lecture. I will explain some of these data types in detail in an upcoming lecture, especially strings and lists, tuples, and dictionaries. So if you like this video, click the like button, and if you have any question to ask, you can pass it in the comment. And finally, I would like that you subscribe to my channel so that I can keep making more videos for you. Thank you for watching.